Microdose, yeah, Microdose. Hosted by Kush, Hayes, and Robyn Seto. Talking the talk, cause they got things for you to know. Let's go party with Miss Robyn in the games on Cameo. Yeah, Microdose, Microdose, dose, dose. Microdose, Microdose, dose, dose. Microdose, Microdose, dose, dose. Microdose, Microdose, dose, dose. What gets this next? Go and take a guess. No matter who it is, every episode's the best. Every episode's the best. Every episode's the best. If you disagree, you're crazy, simple as chess. Microdose, 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 yeah, microdose.
What's good, y'all? Kush Hayes here, coming to you. Episode 86 of the Microdose. No, we're not asking you to leave. Actually, we want you to hang out more. With me, as always, Robyn Seto. Miss Robyn, if you're nasty. How you doing, kid? What's going on? What's good?
Hey, I'm ready for the spooky month.
Yeah. It's October 1st. I know you've been talking about, like, Kush, I can't wait to see Venom. Venom 2 is going to be my favorite movie. It's going to be the scariest thing ever. I love it.
And I love like, Venom. Venom's my favorite.
I'll be like, I'm worried you might have a tumor, Robyn Seto. But
whoops.
It is Halloween. I thought I'd bring in someone who knows more about spooky movies than I know about anything in life. She's been on the show before. She's a writer. She's a critic, film festival founder, human cockroach, per her own words. And she's a former Robyn Seto cameo party winner, here to defend her title tonight. Robyn, let's give it up for Madeleine Koestner. What's going on, DVDBoxSet?
Hey, glad to be back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Last time we had you here, it was December 2020. We were exiting a very exhausting year. But we talked about the best of 2020. And then since then, there was the UFF number 4. First time you went virtual. I'm surprised we didn't have you here to talk about it after, but I feel like it was maybe the biggest thing ever this year.
Yeah. I mean, part of the reason you probably didn't have me back to talk about it is because I was so exhausted. I didn't talk to anyone for at least a month once it ended. We ran for 28 hours straight. We started on, it was 30?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God. Well, it was supposed to be 28. But yeah, technical difficulties and stuff, it pushes you back. And then we had a party at the end of it. So it was like almost 2 full days nonstop of movies and short films, and our team coming on camera and talking to everyone, and Vernon Herman Salinger, our insane host. Yeah,
we had him on. I mean, he's a character.
It was a blast. It was one of the most fun things ever. That was also one of the most exhausting things ever.
The first 3, it was literally just confined to the space of the Balboa Theater, and it's like you're in San Francisco, come check it out. But this time it was digital, it was virtual. The entire world was invited. Like, how much bigger did things get, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, we had between 150 and 200 people through the majority of the festival. We had a chat running, and like active in that chat was, a group of 20 to 30 people, but like nonstop, like even at 4 a.m, we still had people in there talking. But yeah, it was really exciting. Like when we first launched, watching that number go up of like logins, because I was sort of running it as the tech. So like the entire thing was sort of happening off of my computer in a way. I kind of gotten everything together and like ingested it into this system that runs sort of like a live TV station. So what we essentially did was created a web television station and then turned it on and then turned it off when we were finished. So it wasn't like, streaming to YouTube or to Twitch or anything. It was really, we created a unique channel for the festival. And then people would buy a pass to that and kind of join the feed and be in the chat and be there watching stuff. But like when we first went live, just watching that number go up was so exciting. Like we sold more passes than we expected to, but the fact that those people then actually tuned in and watched. It's the biggest reach we've ever had. It's like at the theater, at most for a showing, we'll get like 50, 60 people. But we tripled it easily.
Nice. And also, by the way, the
Yeah.
physical theater, like what, only holds maybe 80 people, you know, like
Exactly.
sold.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. When it is at the Balboa, you know, you guys run for like 10 hours, 12 hours, but then, you know, we get a little buffer break and then we come back in the morning and we do it all over again for another 12, 13 hours or whatever. You finish it out. Do you think there was some fatigue going a hardcore 30? Like, again, you under promised and over delivered. You were only promising 24 hours to the public.
Mhm.
And then it's still stretched out to 30.
Yeah.
I remember doing the math. I was just like, no, wait. I know and then there's going to be a bumper right here that they haven't unlocked for. I'm going to put 5 minutes. This goes 30 hours. Like, I mean, was there any fatigue? Did you notice like a dip in the number at a weird time?
Not really.
Was that even available to you?
Yeah, no, I had all the stats. Like basically I could track how many people were logged in at a given time. Like it came to me in Excel reports, which was kind of cool because I'm like a data nerd in my day job. So,
I love spreadsheets myself.
Exactly. So you could see like in maybe the morning hours, but not like the early morning hours. For some reason, everyone held strong then. It was like around, 8, 9 a.m. that there was really a dip. So a lot of people did the night shift and then like rested. But at the same time as people were resting, we had a whole new population joining on Saturday morning who had, some of whom, had left on Friday and come back. Some just hadn't had the chance to log in yet. So we were getting a whole new influx of people joining Saturday morning. It was just so much fun to see like names popping in and out. Some of the filmmakers were hanging out and yeah, people were just really excited. It felt like a slumber party. Yeah. And we had intentionally programmed it for thinking about people who are on the East Coast and what times they would be seeing something versus people on the West Coast and what times they would be seeing it. So we tried to keep it like a happy medium where like, we know this is late night, but a lot of people in, San Francisco are now watching Reel 2, which was an extremely graphic, gory serial killer movie at 1 a.m. But on the East Coast, it's 3 a.m. So we're like, this is a 2 a.m. movie. This is perfect. My math was off a little there, but you understand me.
Right. I thought you guys came out the gates swinging hard with I Blame Society. It was absolutely my favorite film over the entire stretch. But then I also wonder, like, well, there that like 8 p.m. block or whatever, like, the festival isn't quite over yet, but this is supposed to be like a peak hour. Like, was there something else that was supposed to be the stronger hit? Like, again, was I just suffering from fatigue at that point? Because I did end up taking like a 5-hour nap that
what
Battle
put you
still
down?
gives me grief about.
What was it that put you down? Was it Space Clown? Come on, it was Space Clown.
I took a nap during Space Clown again for like 45 minutes. And Robyn, I specifically texted her during this, like, who the fuck requested Space Clown? This is
Clark.
garbage.
It's Clark. You all know it's Clark. So yeah, our two openers. So first was I Blame Society, which was a big ticket movie for us. I had seen I Blame Society at Rotterdam in 2019. So it's like in the Netherlands, and I saw that movie. And it would have been like January. So clearly we had already fully booked the fest at that point. I'm like, oh my God, if this movie's still around in a year, like we have to show it. And honestly, when the fest came around again, it was available on VOD. A lot of people had already seen it, but we weren't thinking about that because we were programming a virtual event. So it gave us a little bit more wiggle room to show some things that like maybe we would avoid because, they just had a big, like press push or whatever. But with I Blame Society, it was very obvious to all of us. It's like, we need to open with this movie. One, it'll be an easy way to maybe ease some people in who are just tuning in for fun, who don't really know what they're getting into. It's I told my mom to watch, and she did in fact go into her office to watch it alone because her husband is not as into found footage horror.
Fair enough.
But like my mom loved I Blame Society. It's fun because it's like a mean film for and about women. which you don't get to see that often, where like the character with the camera is kind of a sociopathic woman who just, you know, wants to make a movie. So that was our movie to kind of like lure people in, kind of get them into it. Then we went into 1974, The Possession of Altair, which is a Mexican found footage horror movie, like set in the 70s, looks like it's, you know, 8mm footage. That one gets really spooky, but it's also just like incredibly produced. Like it's well produced. I mean, like it's a really well made, good looking, exciting movie. So, right, we wanted to get people interested with I Blame Society, get them really amped up and excited with 1974, and then let them know that we were a bunch of idiots and they made a mistake by showing Space Clown after that. Yeah, Space Clown is extremely stupid. The title Space Clown, I feel like, is descriptive because it's a clown from space. There's so much scatological humor. It is just a dumb, stupid, gross movie. Then hardcore programming at night and into the day, where we had some lighter, nicer movies like Poser, which is a skateboarding film from Ohio, and then Zeros and Ones, which is like
that's cute.
Yeah, early 2000s computer screen movie, which I really love. And then, you know, after that, we all just spiraled out of control and we're watching crazy conspiracy theorist films. The Video Diary of Matty O. Did you make it to the final film?
Yes.
Okay, because that was one that I went hard for. I'm like, I want to show this. No one's ever
everything
watched
is the
this.
Blur though now. Everything is a blur.
Honestly, like it's all part of the reason I'm so excited, like talking about the program, is because it's like coming back to me, like as we speak. Because it was a blur. It was exhausting. I was out of commission for a full month afterwards, but worth every moment. We are returning to the Balboa Theater and the ATA Theater and the Roxy, maybe, for next year's fest, which at this point is in 6 months, like 6 months to today, I think.
It's right around the corner.
Feels like it. We're starting to look at some stuff seriously for programming. Clearly, I cannot give you any titles while being recorded, but yeah, it's gearing up to be our biggest fest yet.
Well, let's get into we're 30 days away from Halloween, spoopy season time. What spoopy movies would you like to recommend, Madeleine Koestner?
Well, the first one I wanted to recommend is The Night House, which was brought up very briefly earlier, but honestly, like totally under everyone's radar, in my opinion. I mean, I initially wanted to see it just because the title is funny to me. Like The Night House is a funny title, but it blew me away. What a powerhouse performance from Rebecca Hall. It has a lot of like spooky house stuff without being cliched. It has a couple like digital scares, actually, which like normally I'm like, you know, I only want to see practical stuff in horror movies, but this is a movie that actually uses like visual effects in a very, very inventive and upsetting way.
And doesn't lean on it either. It's not the movie.
No, yeah.
The Night House is one of those movies where I had only been hearing people on Facebook talk about it. Like I didn't know it had come out, and then like it was like the Night House, like Rebecca Hall. Well, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's at the Regal now. I'll go check it out in a double feature. First off, I got too drunk, so I had to leave halfway through the first screening. But I went back that Monday.
Wait, what was you had to leave halfway through The Night House.
I saw Free Guy before that, and I was perpetually
of course you got
annoyed.
Drunk. Of course you got too drunk. Free Guy.
Yeah. I was the biggest curmudgeon in the theater. I was just absolutely annoyed leaving Free Guy.
Free Guy has Ready Player One syndrome, where it's just
Lego Movie and everything else.
Obsessed with referencing things, as if referencing things is a storytelling element, which it's not.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't hate that other people loved it, but it's a crowd pleaser. Just to be nice. But anyway, so I saw that, got super drunk, and then tried to sit through The Night House and didn't make it. I was like, I gotta go. I gotta walk home. You know, good.
I mean, it's a really dark movie, so that's probably good that you did that, because I can't imagine it'd be the best state to watch it in.
Well, we went back in a much better head of mine. And the Night House is 65% of that movie is me crying, because I don't think it's very scary, but it is like one of the most depressing things I've ever seen. Just very sad.
That's the other reason I like it, is because of the way it kind of deals with mental health, very specifically suicidal ideation, which you don't often see represented in a way that's it's not removed so much, but it's given a lot of space to kind of look like other things. And normally, you know, suicidal ideation or the act of like being suicidal is depicted in a very specific and often unkind way. And I thought it was just very, I don't know, it was really interesting. And yeah, I did cry at the end. I did 100% cry. But
only at the end you got off easy. Like,
I only cried at the end.
The opening title card. I'm just like, oh my gosh, something horrible's happened here. My favorite scene in the Night House is the parent-teacher conference.
Oh, it's so good. She's so good in it too.
It's funny to think that this movie was supposed to come up before Godzilla vs. Kong, and it got held up because of the COVID. But I don't know. So we got I know you got a couple more on your list here, but I want to run by some stuff. Next week we got A24's Lamb. Any thoughts on that one?
I'm very excited to see Lamb. I don't know what it's going to be, but you know, if it is just what the trailer is, then hell yeah, I'm in. It's great.
Robyn, Seto, are you familiar with Lamb?
Am I familiar? I have recollection of looking up information about this movie, and that is it. And nothing else
what
about
I've seen,
it, though.
A farmer, possibly from Scotland or New Zealand. I don't mean to generalize, but I think it's one of those two spots. Apparently, did the deed with one of his sheep and has made a human lamb hybrid. And,
that's right. That's why I forgot about it.
Sold.
I don't know how scary that's going to be, but it is definitely an atrocity. So
yeah,
which
from the good people at A24. I show up for atrocity.
I would expect you to be the first one in line for the atrocity.
Oh, absolutely.
What's another one on your list there, Madeleine Koestner?
Another movie that I am recommending for spooky season is a film called Sound of Violence, also a 2021 release. Sadly, I don't think there were any theatrical screenings of this movie, which is too bad, because I think seeing it very big in a very loud theater would have been just a fucking experience. So Sound of Violence is about a young woman who is losing her hearing, and she's an artist, she's an experimental musician, and she discovers when she inflicts pain on another person, it causes her hearing to come back.
Oh.
So she starts making music by torturing people.
Okay.
So it is like really dumb, but it's also really, really great. It's got some crazy sounding like industrial noise music, and it has torture machines that rival and surpass many of those created by the Saw franchise, in my opinion.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's just real weird, real out there, really arty. It's sort of like there's stuff in this movie that's like what I wanted from Velvet Buzzsaw, I think it was called, like art gallery, slasher painting movie, which was absolutely horrible, just really, really bad. But Sound of Violence like gave me a lot of what I wanted from that movie, where it's just really arty and really, really gory.
And it sounds like it depends a lot on a good sound system.
Oh yeah, it is a movie that should be watched real loud.
Like I regret not seeing Sound of Metal in the theater. Like it's an okay movie, but like watching it at home, I was like, oh, I wish I was watching this in a theater with the proper sound system, because I got nothing here.
Yeah.
Robyn, Seto, you got anything you want to recommend for spoopy movie season?
Well, spoopy movies. I recently have been watching a lot of older slasher movies. One of the most recent ones was called Intruder. It's kind of one of the classic, you got a bunch of kids trapped in a grocery store and they get kind of picked off one by one, but you're not entirely sure if the killer is who you think it is from the beginning. It's got a young Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi, and Bruce Campbell even makes a quick cameo at the end of the movie. I believe it was I think this came out in 89, so kind of after these guys were kind of getting on with their fun, weird collaborations. But they're both real young, and I almost, don't recognize them at first. Sam Raimi has got one of those old man faces where he looks kind of old, even when he's clearly very young. It's like, why does that guy's face look so old? Oh, that's Sam Raimi. But it's got some really goofy kind of fun kills, keeps you on your toes, keeps your attention real well. I find it really interesting that it wasn't directed by Sam Raimi because of how it's shot. A little reminds me of comic book, kind of how the Spider-Man movies he ended up directing looked. Maybe he took a lot of inspiration from, I can't even remember who directed this movie, but it's very good. It's very goofy, very spoopy. It's definitely fun to watch with friends. So if you're having a quarantine-approved party, I highly suggest showing this to your buds. Intruder, 1989. Yeah.
Midway through the month, we get Halloween Kills. Do we give a shit about Halloween? I really liked the very last one they did. I didn't want any more after that, though, or at least not in this narrative. No, all right.
I don't.
Moving on. Moving on. Madeleine, what else you got on your list?
I think I landed on doing a really, really obvious one, which is unusual for me because I try to go obscure normally. But
I'm oblivious to this stuff.
About a week ago, I rewatched Dawn of the Dead. The original 1978 George Romero. Actually, it was the theatrical cut. I feel like I've watched the European cut that Dario Argento did more times. But when I was younger, I didn't love it. Like I never really, it didn't click with me in the way that like Day of the Dead did. I always found it very slow and boring. I just didn't think it looked as good as the others. But now, I probably hadn't seen it in nearly a decade, and revisiting it like in my 30s, it's a masterpiece. I loved it so much. It's so much more interesting than I remember. The character development is so strong. The music is great. It's so naturally funny in a lot of ways, and figures out how to make you feel upset at like human loss in a way that I think a lot of zombie movies neglect to do. And it's also just such a showpiece for Romero's like directing. It's just a fabulously directed movie, but like it's this little kind of like domestic thing where it's just four people trying to make a tiny home in like the back room of a mall, and you've got your couple that's like disintegrating, and then you've got this like young, exciting bromance between Peter and Roger. I had such a good time. I feel like I never gave the movie a fair shake, and watching it, now, outdoors with a group of people at the Astoria Horror Club, which I am, a founding member of, but it was voted on by the club, and I'm like, boring, should have picked Return of the Living Dead. And then it was also, oh my god, it's one of my favorites, but like that was what I would have picked, and the club voted on Dawn of the Dead. I'm like, fine, whatever you want. And then I just sat there having such a good time. So yeah, anybody who thinks that they didn't like Dawn of the Dead but they haven't seen it in a long time, give it another shot. I mean, I also like that it is one of the few movies that acknowledges that like zombies actually don't get you unless you're being foolish. Because most of the time they just shove them out of the way. There's so much kicking and punching zombies in this movie. Like, forgot that. You don't get to see that very often. Everybody's always like armed to the teeth, and they are in this movie, but like more often than shooting them, they're just running up and punching them right in the face. And the zombies don't get them until they're doing something dumb. Like,
well, it's the marauding biker gang that always messes things up for everybody.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Which also, did you know that doesn't happen until like the last 15 minutes of a 2-hour movie?
Oh no. Yeah, I remember it being
right.
It's like, why would that happen?
Exactly. Like I remember
there's no build up to it. You'd always think like any other movie would be like 20 minutes in the beginning that you'd see just like some guy revving his hog and like, oh, they're on their way, like just static shots of them just driving down the freeway.
I just remembered it
get
being,
to the mall.
Yeah, I just remembered it being such a major part of the movie. And then I'm like, oh, this isn't really that major at all. This is just sort of a conflict that happens towards the end that like gets us through the third act. I don't know. I had a really good time. Other thing is, did you know that there's like it's almost like watchable, like in that like it's not streaming anywhere. You cannot find it virtually. Really? Yeah, there's not a Blu-ray release of it that's like, you know, from America and, and like not a collector's item that's worth, you know, hundreds of dollars. Oh, God. Like, because we normally just stream movies for the club. And I arrived and the guy who's sort of like the founder was like, hey, we have an emergency. I'm like, what is it? He's like, we can't watch Dawn of the Dead. I'm like, I own it on DVD. Let me run home. So we wound up just like watching my old DVD of it. Wow. Which also made me appreciate it too, that it's like kind of slipping into oblivion.
Obscurity.
Yeah.
Very obscure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's such a well-known title, but I don't think people watch it very often.
I'm hearing some music right now, and we're gonna play
Seto's Cameo Party.
Watch out.
Robyn Seto cameo party. Robyn Seto, you got a game.
Yeah, we do. So this is the Price is Right knockoff game where I go to cameo.com where celebrities will make a custom 2 to 3 minute video for you for a fee and they name their price. So I go there and make a list of the celebrity prices for Kush to go up against our guest to guess the price. We're doing something a little bit different today. I've decided that since there's a new feature available on cameo.com called Cameo for Business, where for a usually much higher fee than the personal, quote unquote, personal cameos, with the Cameo for Business, you are allowed to post it to one marketing channel for 30 days. You get the license for that video for 30 days for that fee that you pay. And so one marketing channel means like one social media platform. Like if you post it on Twitter, you can't post it on Facebook, or it goes along with one email blast. You can't put it through something else or put it up on your website if you put it in an email or whatever. So there's restrictions to it. They state on the website the average one costs about $2,000, but I, in my research, have seen as low as $100, and sky is the limit with this kind of thing. So there you go. So even though some of these people on this list might be familiar, this is their for business price, we're going to guess.
I wonder what it was that pushed things over the limit, that they had to introduce this time limit policy. Like, this is Michael Douglas, and you're listening to Billy's Bang Bus on bangbus.net. That'll be $500.
I mean, they must be making money because there's a lot of celebrities that offer this service in addition to their personal cameos. So there is a theme. The spooky people.
Spooky people.
And so, our lovely returning champion, Madeleine, will be guessing first against our lovely returning host, Kush.
That's me.
first up, we have Mr. Tony Todd, Candyman. He's done a lot of different stuff, but I think he's probably best known for Candyman and Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Final Destination.
Yes, Final Destination. He was in The Crow.
I'm gonna put.
Yeah.
Is he in The Crow? Mm-hmm.
My guess on Tony Todd is probably 1,500.
1,500. Kush.
That's we're dealing with much higher numbers, aren't we? Tony Todd also a mainstay with the DC animated universe. That's important to those it's important to. But he's done everything. Yeah, he was in the Candyman series, the Final Destination series. He was in the remake of Night of the Living Dead in 1990. And then he's just got he's got such a fantastic and rich voice that there's no price too high for him. So I'm gonna say $2,000 for Tony Todd.
All right. He is charging $350 for a business cameo. Now I think maybe
he's a convention guy.
So now here's here's the thing in addition to this that I don't think was explicitly outlined on the Cameo website, but I think what they mean by it's a 30 days, there was something about renewing the license. So it's maybe
it's a subscription service.
Yeah, so it's like every 30 days you pay Tony Todd $350.
Will he redo it every 30 days or is it just the same video?
That's a good question. Maybe I should contact somebody at Cameo about that.
Don't do that. Like definitely don't do that.
So okay, is this a no point scenario? We all lose?
Yeah, it's a no point scenario at this point in time.
If we all lose every one of them, does that mean that I'm like still the reigning champion?
This would definitely be some kind of like weird tie no contest event.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We still have the entire game left to play, so we'll see.
Okay.
All right. Well, next up we have the Shining Twins. The Shining Twins. Yes, they are elderly British women, Lisa and Louise Burns, who play the adorable little Grady daughters in the Shining movie that Danny sees horribly murdered. So, what do you think these little grannies want for a business cameo from the Shining Twins, Madeleine?
All right. So I have a feeling that The Shining is a more popular movie and they are pretty iconic. So they're going to be a bit higher, but maybe I should lower like what I was assuming the cost for this is going to be. So let's go with $750. All
right, $750 Kush.
It's crazy to think that they're elderly now. Like I haven't seen The Shining in forever, and it was probably like on KBHK, so it was already edited, and I was 7, so I didn't care or know what I was seeing. And like Shining, I don't want to see that. But that scene of the twins holding their hands and like, come play with us, Dan. That thing is iconic, and it's crazy to think that was that long ago now that those women are elderly. So. Having said all that, I'm just going to guess $150.
Wow, okay. They are charging $875.
Wow.
For business cameo.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And for a guest, hello. Okay, next we have Tom Savini. Tom Savini, the one and only master of gory movie makeup effects.
Director of that Night of the Living Dead starring Tony Todd.
All right. So Tom Savini thinks very highly of himself.
Yeah, he does.
He runs that makeup school. So I think he probably is asking even more. So I'm going to go 1,000 for Tom Savini.
Okay, 1,000.
I agree with everything Madeleine says, but also like he that man's seen some shit. He's not only a Vietnam vet, but he's like in the best shape of like anyone over 75 should ever be in. Like the dude's ripped. And also, he's running a very successful school. I don't know if he's dyeing his hair, but we should all be that lucky to not have any gray in our hair in our 70s, let alone our 40s, which is becoming more and more.
He's dyeing it.
Oh yeah, probably. You might also just have those strong Italian genes. Those guys are crazy. They either turn into a prune in their 30s or they're immortal. But Tom Savini, shit. $1,001.
For a business cameo, Tom Savini is charging $300. I think even the celebrities signing up for this are not entirely sure how to price themselves. So that's yeah. All right. Well, our guest is still ahead. And next up we have Ernie Hudson.
Ooh.
Yes.
I'm gonna go $150. $150 for Ernie Hudson.
All right, Kush.
What's very funny is every time we have a returning guest, I always listen to the very last episode they were a part of. And the last time you were here, Madeleine, Ernie Hudson came up in the Robyn Seto cameo party. And what's ironic is I listened to this less than 10 hours ago, but I don't remember what Ernie's price is. I want to say he was charging $350. So I'm going to say $350. But full transparency, he's a return.
You think he's charging the same amount for his personal as he is for business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as you said, like no one seems to really know what this is yet.
Well, Ernie Hudson is charging $500 for a cameo.
Damn.
So now we're tied for real.
Oh, all right.
All right.
This is it. This is for all the spoopy marbles.
This last one is super scary.
Spoopy Carrie.
Holly Shore.
Oh God.
Holly Shore, buddy. How much do you think I'm charging for a cameo? Oh. Madeleine.
My instinct is to go really high.
Good instinct, I would say.
I think Pauly Shore. $1,500. Let's go back to $1,500.
Kush.
I want to say Pauly Shore has actually been again on the Robyn Seto cameo party before. I think it was with Mr. Vernon Williams III.
Sounds appropriate, yes.
I forget who it was, honestly, but he's definitely been on it. I'm going to just say 500. Yeah.
500.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Charlie.
Charlie Poor.
Charlie Poor. Pauly Shore is charging $750 for a business cameo. So it looks like
this never happens.
Once in a blue moon, it seems that this is spooky. Kush wins the Robyn Seto
Not
cameo
business
party.
minded enough.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, that
just
deal I made with the
proves
gypsy turned out to be positive.
Oh goodness.
I'm like 24 and 4, or 30 and 4. Like my win number isn't even in double digits yet. So this is a fantastic day. I feel like I could conquer the world. I just want to thank everybody who has supported me throughout this endeavor, and I look forward to defending my championship next week on the Robyn Seto cameo party.
Robyn Seto's cameo party.
Well, bask in the glory for another week.
I will. Thank you very much. So, Madeleine Koestner is the founder of the Unnamed Footage Festival. You can find that at unnamedfootagefestival.com. You can find her on Twitter and at Letterboxd with a D at DVDBoxSet. Madeleine, is there anything else you want to plug? Anything else you want to put more detail into?
I mean, I'm gonna go do special effects on a horror movie in 2 weeks.
Dope.
So one day in the future, look for a horror movie called Mean Spirited. I'm really excited about it.
Well, we will have to have you back on when that comes out, and you'll tell us all about it.
Absolutely.
Robyn, Seto, you do some stuff around here. What do you do?
I do a little written reviews of craft beers, and we call them around here polite beer expressions. And every week I try to do a different craft beer, a different style, different brewery, give a little history on different breweries, give a little background on different styles. They're pretty short, so don't feel like you gotta, sit down and put your readers on to really get the idea behind these reviews. But yeah, those go up Wednesdays at noon California time, because right now I'm working from home, so I sleep in. Oops. And those are up on the BosNet.family.
I'll edit the last part out. Don't worry. 2 days ago, me and Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer Jameel Hemphill, we released Sweet Science Cinema number 5. We talked about Denzel Washington in The Hurricane, but you can also check me out on a weekly basis. Friend of the Microdose, Mike Fish, he put together a show. He invited me to be pretty on it. It's called the Waffle Box Podcast. It's the best part of Wednesdays. We talk about everything and nothing at all. That's on YouTube's the BosNet.family Waffle Box Pod. So for Madeleine Koestner, I've been Kush Hayes.
I've been Robyn.
You've been you.
Yes.
Microdose, 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 yeah, microdose.
From the BosNet family.
Yeah, it's the biggest reach we've ever had.